Okay, so let's get started. First, some introductions. I'm Stuart McIntosh, and I'll be chairing tonight's meeting. I'm joined by John Brown, Marty Mirror, Greg Jackno. We've got our superintendent, Paul Taft, and administrator, Christina Batista. So, as a reminder, to get your application approved, it requires a majority vote of the board up here. So therefore, there'll be 4 voting. Therefore, you'll need 3 consenting votes. One thing to mention to both applicants is that per the code, if you would require 5 board members, we only have 4 tonight, you can certainly request that, in other words, and pull your application. So if you'd like to do that, feel free, but otherwise, it'll just be the 4 of us voting, if that's okay. All right. So tonight we have 2 applications, and then we have a third. After that, it's not an application, it's an administrative vote we have to do here with the zoning board. But let us, we're going to start with 43 Sturgis. And as you all know, that this applicant came before us in March, and they decided to pull their application, revise it, so they're back before us.
Hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Andrew Collingham. I'm the architect for 43 Sturgis. So yes, we were here 2 months ago for this project, and at that time, the project consisted of a single-story addition with a garage, a single-car garage, a mudroom, and an office component. At that time, we were seeking 3 variances: a side yard, a rear yard, and a coverage variance. We listened to some of the comments of the board, and we decided to revise our design in order to reduce not only the number of variances, but the extent of those variances. So what we did was we eliminated the office component of the project, which effectively reduced the footprint of the addition project about in half. That also reduced the number of variances, 3 down to 2, because we now no longer need the side yard variance. We are just requesting a rear yard variance, which has been reduced in itself. Previously, we had a rear yard setback of 9.7 feet, and now we have increased that rear yard setback to 10.1 feet. Subsequently, the amount of coverage has been reduced because 1, like I said, we reduced the footprint of the project, but 2, the board had commented on the size of the patio, which we decided would be prudent to reduce that as well. So we reduced the patio by about 19% in area, which, along with the addition reduction, brought our coverage down to 24.8%, a variance of 2.3%, much less substantial than we were requesting earlier. So that's pretty much the project. We just want to explain how we listened to the board's feedback from last meeting and are willing to compromise with the design.
Laser pointer if you need it for up there.
Could you, we have, Marty was not at the last meeting,
Yep.
So maybe you could just walk us through what the new plan is.
So currently, on the plan that you see right here, this is the garage. This is the garage right here, with the access from the side, so you come down and get into the garage. Previously, we had the garage with the front doors facing the street. It was about right here in this area. Again, with the garage doors facing the Sturgis Road. So we eliminated the office, which was here. We slid the garage over this way, and now it's accessed from the side yard. So that means that the addition is in plane with the current side yard setback, which is compliant in itself. So we eliminated the side yard variance request. Also, we decided to bring the back of the house here down a little bit, which increased our rear yard setback from 9.7 to 10.1 feet. So reduced variances from 3 to 2, and we reduced the amount of variance for the other 2 items. This patio previously had been squared off to the corner of the house here, this little triangle here, or actually up a little bit more. So we thought that we can create more of an organic shape to the patio. Paul, if you keep going, the first floor plan, you see we had placed some furniture. The owner had consulted with a landscape architect friend, and we thought that given the functionality of the patio, which was to have an eating component with a barbecue grill as well as a seating component, we felt that we could reduce the size of the patio but still achieve the functionality that we were looking for. And again, this reduction represents about a 19% smaller patio than 2 months ago. So again, I think it's a good compromise between meeting the wishes of the board, but also meeting the wishes of the family's functionality.
I have a question on the garage.
Yep.
What's the width of the entrance to the garage? Is it a 1-car or 2-car garage?
It's a 1-car garage. It's currently a 10-foot wide door. It's 10 by 8, which is a generously sized door. But the width of the garage itself is only interior about 13 feet, so it's just a 1-car garage with some storage on the sides.
Okay.
The existing garage today, where the family room is, I don't know how much, Marty, you've heard of what we're trying to do. There's a current, this area right here is the current garage. That's a 2-car garage, but the whole premise of the project is to gain a family room here instead of the 2-car garage, which is adjacent to the kitchen, and it presents a better flow. So that's when we decided to add a garage addition here on the side. And again, that's a 1-car garage now, so we're going from 2 to 1. We just thought that it would be more beneficial, more valuable to have that family room space.
And the depth of the garage?
It's about 18 feet.
18 feet.
18.6. Yep.
So that's about, if my math is correct, about 15% of the back. Is it 125 feet is the width of the property?
Yes, it's 100 by 125.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
So that would be about 15%, right?
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah, consuming, okay.
Yeah, and that's not a very deep garage by any means.
No. No. And I don't know if I don't remember last time if we talked about landscaping in back. Did we?
Yeah, we had included some landscaping previously.
Yeah.
At the rear property line.
Right.
We were proposing a row of arborvitae trees.
Okay.
You keep going left, Paul, there's some existing photos of the backyard. Right there is good.
Okay, there you go.
So this is the current patio, which is very minimal. I mean, beyond the furniture, there's not much space to even stand there. This is the current rear yard property line where the fence is. So we're proposing to remove these plants here and install a row of arborvitae along the back.
Okay.
How far is the edge, how close does the patio get to the fence? This is more out of curiosity as to the ability to put arborvitae in there.
It's about 7 feet.
Okay, so that's room.
Right.
Yeah, we have, like I said, the garage is 10.1 to the rear property line, and then we have a series of stepping stones.
Right.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right there. So that right there is probably about 7 feet.
Okay. Let me open it up to the public. I don't really, any questions, comments? None from my committee members?
I just have one other
Okay.
question. This was shared with all the neighbors,
Yes. Yep.
and any negative feedback at all?
Nope. Originally, maybe almost a year ago, we had presented a two-story design, which we approached the neighbors with. The neighbors directly in the back thought it was a bit imposing, the 2 stories, and that's when we scaled it down to a 1. So everybody's, aware of the 1-story structure instead of 2.
Right.
We tried to resolve it as best as we could before the ZBA meetings.
And who was the backdoor neighbor? I was looking, is Matthew Collins? Okay, that's the one who gave you the feedback?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay,
On the two-story, yeah.
okay,
And I spoke to you again after our last meeting, peacefully supportive of our plan.
okay, got it.
One last chance, questions, comments, gentlemen? Okay, so let me propose a resolution that the Bronxville Zoning Board of Appeals grant the following variances to the residents of 43 Sturgis. Section 310-10E, building coverage. Allowed is 22.5%, existing 19.2%, proposed 24.8%, variance required of 2.3%. Then for the side yard, or really backyard, section 310-10D2, allowed is 15 feet, existing is 26.6 feet, proposed is 10.1, variance required is 4.9 feet. John, I'll start with you.
Yes, I'm in favor of the variance. I think the revision is very good and well appreciated.
Thank you.
Great. Greg?
I also approve, I appreciate that you took the feedback from the meeting in March, and this looks like a good solution.
Great. Marty?
I missed the last meeting, so I read everything carefully, and I thought that the applicant did a very good job of laying out the history and the background, and the fact that this past weekend I had to babysit for my 4 grandchildren. I appreciate the need for space for 4 children. But more specifically, I like the reaction that you all gave to the committee, and relative to the neighbors. There was some bad zoning before this group was gathered, and so there's, relative your additions are relatively modest compared to the neighbors, and I do like the fact that you're preserving the house, and which preserves the character of the neighborhood and keeps that large front yard available. So in total, while this is a substantial variance and usually makes me pretty nervous when we grant these, I'm in favor of it in this instance.
Great, thank you. Okay, and I also concur with my colleagues, so congratulations, the variances are granted. Only thing you have to remember, you have to get it done in a year, or you'll incur the wrath of Paul Taft, so. Great, thank you.
Everybody.
Okay, next up is 40 Elm Rock. John, are you presenting? Okay.
Good evening. For the record, I'm John Downs, architect for the loft residents. Diana and Dwayne are here tonight. We are applying for a variance to allow us to build within the 15-foot side yard setbacks. And if we can go to the first slide, Paul. I've done a diagram of the existing site plan, the proposed site plan, and a site plan that highlights the areas that are requiring a variance. You can see the darkened areas on the right are the proposed additions that we're contemplating, which are within those 15-foot setbacks. The existing building is pre-existing non-conforming with side yards existing 11-foot 6.5. We're proposing a 10-foot 8 side yard on one side. And side yard 2, we have an existing of 6.2 feet, and we're proposing 9 9 foot 1.5 for the proposed addition. This is our one side yard and our other. We're getting a little closer on this side, a little wider on that side. But essentially, if we scroll to the larger floor plans, Paul?
So just one, it's interesting, just sticking with that. So, John, the current on the right side is a little over 6 feet, right? So it's actually, although it's non-conforming, you're requiring a variance, but it's actually less of a variance than already exists.
That is correct.
Is that correct? It goes from 6 feet to 9 feet? That's just the way the property line runs.
That is correct.
Okay.
So essentially, we're just proposing to stay in line with the existing building and just project it back to widen the footprint. The issue with this house is that it's really not very user-friendly. And what we have here is a front entrance porch, a foyer with some sort of a large entrance closet, one large living dining space with a fireplace, a kitchen that's kind of tucked up in the corner here and completely divorced from the yard, and a stairway leading down to the driveway and upstairs. This whole back of the house is taken up by some closet space and a powder room, again disengaging the whole front of the building from the backyard. This, I presume, was a variant, an addition that was built after the original house. And our land slopes down towards the rear yard, and as a result, they've stepped down into a very, very narrow family room, which is very awkward in that there's no real great room area for the family to congregate. They really feel as though they're up in an upper level, sitting around an island, eating, or eating at a formal dining table, and then they have to take a trek to this destination point to hang around in a family room, which is so narrow by the time you have circulation coming through the middle, it's really unfurnishable for a breakfast table and, just decent family life.
And what are the dimensions of the current family room?
It's about
Approximately
16 by 22.
16, okay. So it's fairly narrow, okay.
So, the loft came to me and said, we have a beautiful yard. We have a nice swimming pool in the back. We have a very small terrace area, very isolated family room. Is there a way that we could at least have a lower level that encompasses an eat-in kitchen with a banquette and an area for, a sofa and a TV media center? So the solution I proposed was to reorganize these spaces into more formal rooms where one would actually remove this powder room in the back and relocate it to the front foyer area, and to create a room, which is an actual living room with a built-in, and then a center hallway that would create a vista straight through the house instead of this kind of very strange setup with just a floating partition. You're neither here nor there. And along this LA, going towards the back, to create a pocket where the formal living room, a formal dining room, could be within this bay window, and then to repurpose this area here so that one could come up into a proper mudroom instead of straight up into a kitchen, and to have a large pantry here with steps leading down to the great room. Adjacent to this dining room, we would also create a kind of little home office and a wet bar that again could be serviced, through some steps. But once you arrive down at this widened lower level, you have a proper kitchen set up with a decent island, place to to eat, and a place to hang out and watch TV. This is proposed to be a cathedral ceiling space with lots of fenestration at the back, as I'll show you. The other dysfunctional thing about this was that they had this patio, which is very small, and it's almost just, it's vacant because it's just not very usable. Most of the activity occurs down here on grade with this paved area. What we're actually proposing is, instead of stepping down onto this little area, is to step out onto a larger usable patio with barbecue, and then to return most of the side yard to grass. So, you know, we're creating a substantial outdoor room and a substantial indoor room, all the while being very cognizant that we don't want to seek another variance except for the side yards. So I've finagled it so that from a building area coverage standpoint, as well as a usable open space, we're actually better than the existing. So that's kind of off the table. It's really just a question of these side yards. And if we could kindly go to the elevations, Paul, that would be great. So on the left, this is the existing south elevation facing the backyard. You can see this very strange little appendage where once you get there, you're not enjoying yourself terribly. And the proposed, which is this widened area, still quite low-slung gable format with center doors, but an expanse of glass that will illuminate this cathedral ceilinged area. And again, steps leading down to the driveway, steps leading back down to the side yard that's been repurposed into landscape. And if we go to the next slide, these are before and after shots of the side elevations. You can see the east elevation has this is the driveway side, has our addition here. Our proposed addition is here. On the opposite side, this is that bay window. Now that's going to be our dining area, and then these are two windows flanking, you know, the media center in our proposed addition. Again, could we go to the original photographs, Paul? Way early. Photos. Here we go. So this gives you a nice visual of, you know, this existing piece that really just blocks off access to the house and is really just too small to be functional. This is the area of the side yard that we're proposing to return to grass. And this little, you know, terrace area that's elevated, that'll be reorganized, as I showed, and widened so that it can become somewhat more functional. And if we look at one more back, that's the overall site. And again, an aerial shot of the whole property. It's quite a long property. It's, you know, some 51 by 200-ish feet, with the existing building, the existing one-story addition that was made, the existing terrace. We have a freestanding detached garage, and we have this swimming pool at the back. And you can see an aerial shot of the property. So I think it's an amply sized lot for what we're proposing, and I welcome any questions or comments you might have.
What's the current situation with drainage on that appendage addition in the back, and what's the proposed drainage currently?
Can we go back to the photos, Paul? No, one back. There you go. So you can see we have a series of gutters and leaders coming down. It's honestly, I don't know where they're going. right as of yet. We need to snake it and find out if there's a series of existing dry wells. I believe there must be. But the intention is, when we're doing this, hopefully doing this project, we're maintaining the existing foundation, and we're really just pouring a new widened foundation. We're just ripping off the roof and then doing a more low-slung roof. So we're going to have to do new gutters and leaders on our new building, and those will be in different locations, which we will, I'm sure, pipe, and I'll size the dry wells to accommodate this entire addition. So those dry wells should find a nice home in the new lawn area. And there'll be, and again, in terms of impervious surface area, we're better after the fact here. There's more percolation, a tad. So while not really required to do any additional drainage, we're going to do some area drains up on the patio, and we'll discharge those, store it underground as well.
And is the patio, or the existing patio, or the planned patio, I know that's included in the building coverage, but is that permeable at all? Or what is the plan there?
The current plan was that it was going to be a bluestone patio.
Okay.
The current patio is not pervious.
Okay. So the stones are, you have concrete between the stones or whatever, or mortar, okay.
But net, we have more pervious surface on site than existing.
And the roof height of the addition, John, is it approximately the same? Or you?
Sure is, yeah. You can see left and right. We've kept the peak height about the same.
Okay.
And the, eave height just got elevated slightly,
right,
as you can see on the right.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And weirdly enough, the existing appendage isn't quite centered on the building. It's centered on, it's a little off-center, but we're proposing to just have a purely centered element.
And in regard to the neighbors, any dialogue or feedback?
Mm-hmm. The immediate neighbor to the left, Alicia Jensen, mm-hmm. I shared the PDFs with them and had a nice chat, and she thought that it was going to be a very lovely addition for the lofts. They know each other well. And they expressed, just the usual concern of being courteous with making sure that garbage doesn't fly in their yard. There's another project, I guess, that was done adjacent to them, and stuff was blowing in their yard, and it was annoying. I said, we'll police the yard every day, get the contractor on board. And of course, everybody is concerned about noise, and particularly with working at home. And I said, look, if we want to be good neighbors, and if you have quiet times that are very important to you, just let us know, and there'll be a cadence in construction. There's lots to do without making noise at critical times. They seemed fine with that. The other neighbors off to the driveway side are Scott and Tara Bacigalupo, mm-hmm. former clients of mine when they lived on Locust. And I reached out. It's been years. I think there's a good email and phone number. And I reached out and emailed them the drawings and offered as a courtesy prior to doing the certified mails to walk them through. And I don't know if they're away, but I never heard back from them.
Okay.
There's certainly nothing negative.
It's fairly heavily landscaped, right? You kind of, on both sides, you got arborvitaes.
It's very much an oasis in there.
Yeah. I don't see much of the public here, but if anyone's hiding, has any questions or comments. Anything, John? Or?
What is the height of the cathedral ceilings? Was that in the family room?
Yes.
The
Well,
kitchen area?
it's the great room,
Right, the great room.
11'9" to the peak,
11 feet?
11'9" inches. Yeah.
Any other questions, comments, gentlemen? Okay. Let me then propose a resolution that the Zoning Board of Appeals grant the following variances to the residents of 40 Elm Rock. First variance is section 310-10-2. It's side yard number 1 setback, allowed 15 feet, existing 11 feet 6.5 inches, proposed 10 feet 8 inches, variance required 4 feet 3 inches. Side yard number 2, again, allowed is 15 feet, existing is 6.2, proposed is 9 feet 1.5 inches, variance required is 5 feet 9 inches. Marty, let's start with you.
I approve the variance. I think it makes the house look more symmetrical in terms of shape. You're adding green space, which is important, so you're trading patio for more coverage. So in that regard, I think it'll be good. It's not a substantial change. I wish you all the luck and all the internal changes unrelated to the variances. It looks like it's gonna, hopefully you'll have another place to stay for a while, but good luck on that as well, but I approve.
Great. Greg?
I also approve. I think it's a great solution, and it's very considerate. I also wish you luck.
John?
Yes, I approve. The changes are very thoughtful, and I don't think they're that great in extent, and I approve.
Right. And I also agree with my colleagues. These are not substantial variances. So good luck. John, good luck. Again, you got to get it done in a year.
Not a problem.
Hold them to it.
Appreciate it.
Great. Thanks. Thanks so much. Okay. Gentlemen, Christina sent around the Village Council prepared the findings of our hearing last in March. Marty, you were not here, but you were for the prior one, White Plains Road.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with the situation and the previous approval that we gave to
Right.
the family and the issue with regard to the measuring of the fence and the height of the fence.
Good. Okay, good. So what I'm seeking, the Village Council, the village is seeking our approval of these findings, which you've all had a chance to review.
Yes, I so approve.
Marty?
I approve.
Greg?
I approve.
And so do I. So Christina, we're good. That ends the meeting.